But anyways, let's move on now to our final topic, and we were talking about Collin Sexton, the freshman guard out at Alabama. We've talked about Michael Porter Jr., we've talked about Luka Doncic, we've talked about Bagley a little bit, but we haven't really touched upon him. We've talked more about Porter really so far with his injury. But now with Porter being injured, kind of opens up some lanes for people to sneak in the top 5. One of those players, Collin Sexton, just dropped 40 points over the Thanksgiving break, and that was mostly in 3-5 basketball against the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Gave Alabama their first loss, but he almost outscored the Golden Gophers with only 2 teammates on the floor. Collin Sexton had one crazy performance. He's looking like the best point guard in this draft, and we kind of underrated the point guards at least a little bit so far from the look of it, because you look at him, you look at Trey out as well outside at Oklahoma. He's looking great. So
Duval, a little bit less, but he's another notch down, half notch down.
But Collin Sexton so far to me is the best point guard prospect in this draft. Do you think that he has enough to possibly sneak into the top 5?
Yeah, I think absolutely he will sneak into the top 5 if he can continue.
Really?
If he can continue, not the 40 points, but like his first 3 games was like 22, 25, 29.
Right now he's averaging 24.7 points per game.
And the thing is, it's points, but it's also rebounds. It's also assists. It's also steals. He's participating across the board. He's giving you like complete game. And that's the thing. You're not getting a one-way player. You're getting a solid 2-way player who hopefully can translate that to the NBA. And in the top 5, I guarantee you there's a team who needs a point guard more than a big. Like that's it might not be entirely based off of, you are the 5th best talent or top 5 talent, but there's a team who needs a point guard for sure in that top 5.
Well, at least looking at the top 5 currently, you look at Chicago. They need a point guard, possibly.
Are you telling me Cam Payne is not the future?
Well, you look at Kris Dunn, who currently is the starting point guard.
He's looked good.
He hasn't looked bad, but then if you look at him and Collin Sexton definitely has a brighter future, being way younger than Kris Dunn. I'd say that Collin Sexton has a brighter future. You look at Atlanta. They don't really need a point guard. They got Dennis Schroeder. You look at Dallas Mavericks. They just drafted one in Dennis Smith Jr. You look at Sacramento. They just drafted De'Aaron Fox. And you look at Phoenix Suns. Maybe that's the one place that needs them. But even
desperately,
then, they got tight. Well, I mean, do they desperately need a point guard in Phoenix?
Yes. Yes, they absolutely do.
I don't know.
Tyler Lewis, I love him. Look, I was probably the biggest Tyler Lewis fan of him coming out.
I mean, they still got Brandon Knight.
Yes, they still have Brandon Knight. If we're going to hang our hats on something, it's that they have Brandon Knight. When he comes back, you watch out. You watch out. He's going to bring it. No, it was the Suns. That was the team I was thinking of. I keep thinking that, like, it's that one more piece. And honestly, it's kind of almost, I don't want to say a lack of development of the rest of their players. We knew Jackson wasn't going to be an elite scorer in the NBA. He's been a solid defender, probably above average for his class, of course. But then we have Kris and we have Bender down low. Both of those guys starting to look better, but not quite there yet. So obviously, you're still resting on Booker, and you need, if you can get a tandem, guard tandems is how you win this game.
The one thing I want to bring up, though, at least with Collin Sexton, one thing that I noticed, obviously his scoring is unreal. You look at what he did in that Minnesota game. That is what I love at least looking at a player. You look at his ability to take over, his ability not to be afraid. He made that a one-possession game with only having 2 other teammates out there. And there was one play where he gets trapped near the right side of the court. He was stuck in the corner and then started moving out towards the wing. And then he goes around 5 defenders, cuts in the lane, and gets it with the left hand on the left side of the court with his left hand. It was unreal just seeing him weave through 5 defenders, kind of like it looked like he was on ice skates pretty much, just moving through. It was unreal, and his ability to get his team back, and he was doing it not only driving to the bucket, but he was also doing it from the outside. He was just coming up and firing up threes, and this is a kid that doesn't have the prettiest shot. He's not that good from the line. He had a nice game against Minnesota, again 12 of 16 from the line, but overall I don't like his shot from the line. He's not that great of a shooter in general, but he was coming down. And
you say not a great shooter. He's right now averaging 50% from 2, 48 from 3.
Okay, but
it's still early in the season,
by great shooter is
mechanics.
Stroke. Yeah, it's not that pretty. It's not Lonzo bad, but it's sort of like Josh Jackson. Josh Jackson had threes falling for him in college, but overall it wasn't going to be something that sustained. He didn't have a nice shot. He wasn't a natural shooter.
He had like a mini hitch in his shot.
Yeah, he wasn't a natural shooter. It's not really mechanical. That's super noticeable, but it's not the cleanest of shots coming out. And I think it's one thing where it might not be consistent in the NBA. I feel like he might be a decent three-point shooter, but I don't think he's going to be at least consistent. He's not going to be levels of like Jamal Murray, at least shooting threes. But at least coming out of college. but Collin Sexton was able to come down 4 of 7 from 3 in that game and just coming down and knocking down threes. And it wasn't like he was banking them in. It wasn't looking like he was like, he was just straight sinking them. And it's one thing where he had that tenacity and he had that ability to put his team on his back. And it's something that, it kind of showed in Dennis Smith Jr. last year. The reason why people compared Dennis Smith Jr. to Russ, kind of having that ability to just take over and be the guy. And it's one thing he's going to have to do, at least on this Alabama team. They have a lot of good prospects on this team. They're going to be a tournament team. But it's something that he is the guy, and no one's really questioning it. But the one thing that I was trying to get to, at least with the Phoenix Suns, and the problem that I have, at least a worry with that is, you look at Devin Booker, natural scorer. You look at T.J. Warren, natural scorer. You look at Josh Jackson, at least in college, he was a scorer. We know he's going to be more of a defender, but at least his best ability is going to be cutting to the basket and scoring.
Yeah, he's a slasher. Yep.
So the one thing with Sexton, his ability is to score. I know it's not bad to score a lot of points in the NBA, but one thing is they need somewhat of a facilitator. And I don't know if Sexton has that ability to be a true facilitator. I think he's really good in transition, passing the ball, but I don't know if he is a true facilitator of an offense, getting an offense going, and that's the biggest worry that I have, at least with the Phoenix Suns, is you're going to have Devin Booker, he's a scorer. You're going to have Collin Sexton, he's a scorer right now. You're going to have T.J. Warren off the bench, he's a scorer. You're going to have a lot of guys whose first instinct is to score, and I don't know if that's going to be the best pairing out there, because right now, at least John Wall, you look at John Wall and Bradley Beal, those are a two-guard combo, but it works because John Wall is going to pass the ball a ton.
Yeah, and that's fair. And that, the funniest thing about it is that, coming out right now, his comparison, Collin Sexton, is, guess who? Eric Bledsoe.
Yeah.
The man that they literally just walked out of town. So it's kind of funny that that's the comparison. I don't think it's a problem of a lack of facilitator. I don't think that will be a problem for them because Phoenix, honestly, the way they seem to rotate, like Kris is very unselfish when it comes to scoring, and whenever they rotate in centers, like between Len and, honestly, if they want to roll with Bender and Kris out there at the same time, maybe, like, I don't see it as a huge negative. You need multiple guys who can score, though. If you don't have multiple threats, you run into problems where you get complaints about point guards like Ricky Rubio, who facilitator, phenomenal, but isn't going to threaten you. So if you have somebody like Sexton, who he can jack up shots, and his shot at least seems to be going in pretty consistently right now, that's what you need. You need someone who can threaten, because up to this point, I haven't seen anything on Josh Jackson offensively where I'm going to trust him being the number 2 scorer on this team.
Well, one thing, let me interject real quick, is Josh Jackson, again, is playing on a bad Phoenix Suns team, and it takes time for guys to adjust to...
They're averaging a shit ton of points.
Yeah, but they're also giving they're giving
that's
up
fine.
a shit ton of points.
But the point is, he should be able to show that offensive prowess if there is any.
The one thing, we didn't see that from Brandon Ingram early on, and it's not like... But now we're seeing it develop. It's going to take these guys time.
That's true.
And you look at Aaron Gordon, it took him 4 years, and now he's finally dropping 40 points games. It's something that... I feel like these guys just need to get comfortable in the position. I feel like you're asking too much from rookies.
From a 20-year-old,
Not every kid's going to go out there and be Ben Simmons right away. Not every guy's going to go out there and be...
He took a year off.
He redshirted. Okay. There you go. Joel Embiid took 3 years off, and he's looking great. But the thing is that I feel like...
I think we're getting a little spoiled with some of the rookies in this class now.
Yeah, and I feel like you're expecting too much. I feel like maybe I'm expecting too much. Because maybe Collin Sexton, again, is going to be able to become a facilitator along with a scorer, and maybe you're going to take the scoring ability and then just hope the facilitating comes alongside of it. I like the idea, and again, I'm not against it. I think Collin Sexton's going to rise up some boards. I think he's going to be able to jump Bamba, because you look at Bamba right now, he's going to be able to be an elite defender. But what's his offensive upside? And also with a guy like Collin Sexton, he has a feel for the American game. And I know you love Luka Doncic. I know he's a fantastic, well-built player.
Yep.
And I know he's got all the skill sets. He's already pretty much matured. He's been around pro basketball for so long. But it's a different game, at least. And we've seen guys do it before. Gasol brothers. We've seen Kristaps do it. We've seen Dirk do it. We've seen guys come over. Dragic has been able to do it. We've seen guys come over and be successful in the NBA game. Ricky Rubio as well, if we're going to mention him. Guy who is pretty built fundamentally.
Yeah.
But one thing with it is, you're always going to look, at least scouts are, and at least what guys are going to look at, is you're going to look at upside, and you're also going to look at athleticism. And Collin Sexton's athleticism jumps off the page. His speed is unreal. His ability to pass in transition, I'll give him that. And another thing, at least with his facilitating, and a reason why I wouldn't be too afraid of it, I'm just bringing it up now just to counter-argue. He's really comfortable with the ball. He looks like a natural bringing the ball up.
That's the thing, is he looks like a pure point guard.
He's fluid up there. He's got the size of a point guard. Sometimes he looks like John Wall. bringing the ball up. I've seen a little John Wall in him. I've seen a little Eric Bledsoe, like you mentioned. I've seen a little Russ in him. I've seen De'Aaron Fox in him a little bit. He's a guy that's really a modern point guard.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe the facilitating would come around, especially if you're going to have a guy like Devin Booker around you. I feel like, though, he's going to be able to jump a guy like Bamba. Bamba might be able to come on, and I'm not saying Bamba's not going to be able to have great games like Colin Sexton had against Minnesota. But I also feel a guy like Doncic, again, I know you love him, and maybe you can make the argument against this right now, but Sexton has the athletic ability and has the ceiling to possibly jump guys like Doncic, who scouts aren't seeing right now playing against college competition. Maybe jump even a Michael Porter, who's not going to be playing against college competition this year.
Right.
Maybe Sexton, who's been hella impressive so far, will be able to continue this.
6 games, though.
And jump
That's
it, though.
the context. Like, this is
Michael
6
Porter,
games.
0 games.
Well, 2 minutes.
Well, 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
2 minutes. Doncic, 0 college games.
But I think that's the problem is people try, and I agree, potential is exactly what you're looking for. Potential, athleticism are the 2 biggest things. And when I see Euro players, it's always the knock that it's very hard to gauge their potential compared to college athletes, because we've seen the trajectory of college athletes a million times more than Euro players. So it's very hard to, it's apples and oranges, to be 100% honest with you. So saying that a player like Collin Sexton has more potential than Doncic.
Rudy Gobert as well. Just sorry.
Rudy Gobert, yeah. I mean, if we want to be assholes, we can Nico. I mean,
that's not a good.
That's
one.
not going to help your case, but no. That's the point. We've seen a more proven track record from college to the pros. We know what to expect. We can see similarities. We can see matchups. So you can see top tier players playing against each other, and you have a baseline comparison. In Europe, it's a very different way to view the game, because these players aren't guys who are in college. These aren't guys who are getting as many games on TV against, national scouts.
And some of them are playing in pro leagues against pro players. You look at Doncic right now, he's playing with Rudy Fernandez. He was a guy who used to be in the Portland Trail Blazers, a guy that I absolutely love. Yeah. I was a huge Rudy Fernandez fan. He had a terrible dunk contest that
Oh my God. But I'm sorry you brought that up even. Yeah.
He sucked in dunk contest.
I was saying he should not have been in that contest.
I loved Rudy Fernandez, and when he was in there, I was like, holy shit, Rudy Fernandez in the dunk contest. And then he was awful.
I just feel like potential is people are capping potentially too low for Doncic because he's a Euro.
Yeah, no, and I get that. But the thing is the only reason why I say that is maybe, again, it's a different game, but I don't see that speed that I see in Collin Sexton. And I know they're different players.
And
Collin
technically
Sexton's 5 inches shorter in different positions.
Yeah, technically different positions, even though they have the same primary ball handlers, what they're both going to be doing for your team. So I agree. I can't put them up there yet. It's 6 games in. I've not seen enough. And I mean, the 3v5 game was awesome, and I'm sure that's going to be like a story of the year for the entire year. But at the same time, you have to look at that Minnesota team and be like, once that happened, they sort of were half-assing it.
Well, and we got to look at the 2 top guys that we talked about coming into this. This is the one thing I want to mention is how crazy this draft class so far has been.
Yeah.
The 2 guys that we mentioned as our top right now, Doncic and Porter.
Yep.
Porter, obviously injured.
Yep.
And we look at Doncic again. We haven't seen him go up against college-level athletes so far.
So his stock will be mostly sitting or dropping. It's very hard for him to grow his value right now.
Yeah, until the combine comes around, they're able to see him, test measurables against these other college players.
Once you get in-house interviews and workouts, then it'll change.
But looking at it, you look at Bagley.
He has been.
I've been iffy on Bagley, but you look at the Texas game where he drops 30. I don't like the last minute shot that he's firing up a 3 there, but he looks scary.
Confidence in that one.
Absolutely scary out there. Ayton can't catch a ball, but physically he's disgusting.
Yep.
He is an absolute monster. Arizona's struggling, but Ayton, again, he looks physically like a monster out there. Again, we're mentioning Sexton. He looks disgusting out there. We talk about at least Jaren Jackson from Michigan State. He looks damn good.
He's on top of it, yeah.
My boy Miles Bridges, still the best sophomore in the NCAA right now, and he's still going to be a top 10 pick. It's fun right now.
It is, and I love
the
early college season, because we're seeing these guys who basically we have very little tape on them. We got a little bit of the championships, the under 18s.
I don't know about a little bit of tape.
For the casual fan.
Okay.
From the casual fan's perspective, these are guys who are just hyped up. You see it on like Reddit threads, you see it on forums, and then all of a sudden we're getting to watch them blow up in games and just through the roof with expectations. Like Bagley, like you said, we were pretty conservative on him early on, and a little bit like, well, I watched him play live actually, and that was kind of fun, but like he also got like poked in the eye, so I kind of missed out on watching him play a lot. But these guys who amazing hype prospects that turn into like, holy shit, this is legit. Like This class is absolutely crazy.
And it's fun just seeing all this guys. And again, you talk about, I keep forgetting his last name, but Trey out in Oklahoma just dropped over 40 points. He looked disgusting as well. You mentioned Duvall out in Duke as well. I mean, there's a ton of players deep in this draft as well that could be absolutely fun. So it's going to be a fun draft. I think Sexton can definitely move into the top 5. And depending on the team picking, maybe top 3.
I'm still saying wild card Suns, watch out.
I'm thinking if the Suns end up with a top 3 pick, maybe they go with them. Because, Bagley, Ayton, if they're sold on Bender and Kris, probably not going to go there. They don't need a small forward. They have Josh Jackson and TJ Warren. Just saying, maybe Collin Sexton works into a top 3. I really like what we're seeing from Sexton. But let us know who your top 5 is in this NBA draft so far. Do you think Sexton is in there? Let us know in the comments down below. But that's going to wrap up the Fast Break podcast, at least this version of it. If you're listening on Blog Talk Radio, do something. Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It's a good one.
If you're listening to Blog Talk Radio, thank you for listening. Down there, if you're watching on YouTube, again, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, check out patreon.com/MostValuable Podcast. You can be on one of our podcasts if you are on that $10 tier, but off of that $2 tier, you got Patreon exclusive podcasts that are absolutely fun. You also check out iTunes. You rate us 5 stars on there. This is a terrible ending. 5 stars on iTunes to the Onside Kick, Fast Break Podcast, Primetime Podcast, and Rick and Johnny Podcast. And also, again, we're selling t-shirts. Check the link in the description, or not the link, check in the description on how to
those details.
Do that. Fucking up this outro, but it's going to be done. And also, we got the OC edition. We're talking D-Rose over there, so check that out on our YouTube channel. But for Dave Oster, I'm Sean Anderson. We'll see you next time.